Today is Wednesday, the 3rd of April 2024, and we have 46 events to cover, going all the way back to the year 686. Starting with the most recent event, which happened 6 years ago. YouTube headquarters shooting. A 38-year-old gunwoman opens fire at YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, California, injuring 3 people before committing suicide. 7 years ago in 2017, a bomb explodes in the St. Petersburg metro system, killing 14 and injuring several more people. 8 years ago in 2016, the Panama Papers, a leak of legal documents, reveals information on 214,488 offshore companies. 11 years ago in 2013, more than 50 people die in floods resulting from record-breaking rainfall in La Plata and Buenos Aires, Argentina. 14 years ago in 2010, Apple Incorporated released the first generation iPad, a tablet computer. 15 years ago in 2009, Jiverly Antares Wong opens fire at the American Civic Association Immigration Center in Binghamton, New York, killing 13 and wounding 4 before committing suicide. 16 years ago in 2008, ATA Airlines, once one of the 10 largest US passenger airlines and largest charter airline, files for bankruptcy for the second time in 5 years and ceases all operations. In the same year, Texas law enforcement cordons off the FLDS's YFZ ranch. Eventually, 553 women and children will be taken into state custody. 17 years ago in 2007, conventional train world speed record. A French TGV train on the LGV Est high speed line sets an official new world speed record. 20 years ago in 2004, Islamic terrorists involved in the 2004 Madrid train bombings are trapped by police in their apartment and kill themselves. 24 years ago in the year 2000, United States versus Microsoft Corporation. Microsoft is ruled to have violated United States antitrust law by keeping an oppressive thumb on its competitors. 27 years ago in 1997, the Falit massacre begins in Algeria. All but one of the 53 inhabitants of Falit are killed by guerrillas. 28 years ago in 1996, suspected Unabomber Fyodor Kaczynski is captured at his Montana cabin in the United States. In the same year, a United States Air Force Boeing T-43 crashes near Dubrovnik Airport in Croatia, killing 35, including Secretary of Commerce Ron Brown. 31 years ago in 1993, the outcome of the Grand National Horse Race is declared void for the first and only time. 35 years ago in 1989, the US Supreme Court upholds the jurisdictional rights of tribal courts under the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 in Mississippi Choctaw Band versus Holyfield. 43 years ago in 1981, The Osborne 1, the first successful portable computer, is unveiled at the West Coast Computer Fair in San Francisco. "44 years ago in 1980, the US Congress restores a federal trust relationship with the 501 members of the Shivwits, Kanosh, Kusharam, and the Indian Peaks and Cedar City bands of the Paiute people of Utah. 49 years ago in 1975, in the Vietnam War, Operation Baby Lift, a mass evacuation of children in the closing stages of the war, begins. In the same year, Bobby Fischer refuses to play in a chess match against Anatoly Karpov, giving Karpov the title of world champion by default. "50 years ago in 1974, the 1974 super outbreak occurs, the second largest tornado outbreak in recorded history, after the 2011 super outbreak. The death toll is 315, with nearly 5,500 injured. 51 years ago in 1973, Martin Cooper of Motorola makes a first handheld mobile phone call to Joel S. Engel of Bell Labs. 55 years ago in 1969, in the Vietnam War, United States Secretary of Defense Melvin Laird announces that the United States will start to Vietnamize the war effort. 56 years ago in 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. delivers his "I've been to the mountaintop" speech. He was assassinated the next day. 68 years ago in 1956, Hudsonville Standale tornado. The western half of the lower peninsula of Michigan is struck by a deadly F5 tornado. 69 years ago in 1955, the American Civil Liberties Union announces it will defend Allen Ginsberg's book Howl against obscenity charges. 76 years ago in 1948, in the Cold War, US President Harry S. Truman signs the Marshall Plan, authorizing $5 billion in aid for 16 countries. In the same year, in Jeju Province, South Korea, a civil war-like period of violence and human rights abuses known as the Jeju Uprising begins. 78 years ago in 1946, Japanese Lieutenant General Masaharu Homma is executed in the Philippines for leading the Bataan Death March. 82 years ago in 1942, in World War II, Japanese forces begin an assault on the United States and Filipino troops on the Bataan Peninsula. 88 years ago in 1936, Bruno Richard Hauptmann is executed for the kidnapping and death of Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr., the infant son of pilot Charles Lindbergh. 91 years ago in 1933, first flight over Mount Everest. The British Houston Mount Everest flight expedition, led by the Marquis of Clydesdale and funded by Lucy, Lady Houston. 102 years ago in 1922, Joseph Stalin becomes the first General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. 104 years ago in 1920, attempts are made to carry out the failed assassination attempt on General Mannerheim, led by Alexander Beckman, by order of Aino Raja, during the White Guard Parade in Tampere, Finland. 129 years ago in 1895, the trial in the libel case brought by Oscar Wilde begins, eventually resulting in his imprisonment on charges of homosexuality. 136 years ago in 1888, Jack the Ripper, the first of 11 unsolved brutal murders of women committed in or near the impoverished Whitechapel district in the east of London, occurs. 139 years ago in 1885, Gottlieb Daimler is granted a German patent for a light, high-speed, four-stroke engine, which he uses 7 months later to create the world's first motorcycle, the Daimler Reitwagen. 142 years ago in 1882, in the American Old West, Robert Ford kills Jesse James. 159 years ago in 1865, in the American Civil War, Union forces capture Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the Confederate States of America. 164 years ago in 1860, the first successful United States Pony Express run from St. Joseph, Missouri to Sacramento, California begins. 173 years ago in 1851, Rama IV is crowned King of Thailand after the death of his half-brother Rama III. 303 years ago in 1721, Robert Walpole becomes, in effect, the first Prime Minister of Great Britain, though he himself denied that title. 465 years ago in 1559, the second of 2 treaties making up the Peace of Catuia Cambrensis is signed, ending the Italian Wars. 947 years ago in the year 1077, the Patriarchate of Friul, the first Friulian state, is created. 981 years ago in 1043, Edward the Confessor is crowned King of England. 1,338 years ago in the year 686, Maya king Yuknum Yichak Kak assumes the crown of Kala Kmul. So that is all we have for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you found our little trip back through history both relaxing and informative. If you did indeed like the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and also consider leaving a comment below. All feedback is very much welcome. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. It will really help the channel grow and will ensure that you are notified of future videos. Be sure to turn on notifications so that you are notified of future videos as soon as they are posted. Thank you again, and I hope to see you next time.